Thank you for coming. I'm going to get started. Only 4 minutes late, not too bad. My name is Melissa Hanlon, and I'm the town moderator here in Brentwood. It's my privilege to run Meet the Candidates night this evening. The format is going to be each candidate will have 3 minutes, no more, they can use less, to introduce themselves and talk about why they're running for their chosen office. Once we've gone through all of the candidates, a member of the planning board is just going to explain the zoning amendments that are going to be on the ballot, and then we're going to open things up for question and answer. So members of the public can ask questions, they'll be directed to me, and then we'll find the appropriate candidate to answer them. With that being said, we're going to start with our candidate for cemetery trustee, because he's going to be my trusted timer once he speaks. So Jim?
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you for holding this tonight. I really appreciate it. Hi, my name is Jim Gazier, and I'm seeking re-election as a member of the Brentwood Cemetery Trustees. It is my privilege to serve as a trustee for the past 3 years, working alongside a dedicated group of trustees and our superintendent of cemeteries to oversee the management and maintenance of the Brentwood cemeteries. For the last 2 years, I've fulfilled the role of chair of the trustees, and I'm eager to continue contributing to the board's combined efforts over the coming term. I played an instrumental role in formulating the requirements for our future town cemetery, which will become necessary once the Tonnery Cemetery approaches full capacity in approximately 8 years. I anticipate further collaboration with the trustees, the superintendent, and the select board to finalize plans for the new cemetery, ensuring the effective utilization of a generous land donation from a local town resident. I also look forward to finalizing the land survey and all the deeds updates needed to formally recognize the Brentwood Poor Farm Cemetery as a town cemetery. I appreciate your continued support, and I respectfully request your vote for cemetery trustee in the upcoming election on March 10th. Thank you.
So for everyone else, Jim is going to be keeping track of the 3-minute time line, and he has cue cards for you. Up next, we're going to do the library trustee candidates, beginning with Karen Myers.
Hi, my name is Karen Myers. I am running for library trustee. I lived in Brentwood for 24 years. I have raised my 2 kids here. Jake is almost 25, Dessa is 22. And the library's been an important part of our lives since the day we moved here. I think I showed up there when Jake was a baby, maybe my 2nd day of being in the neighborhood. I love to read, but I also made my first connections here in town at the library. The Children's Story Hour was just really important as a new mom, and I met a lot of friends that I'm still friends with today. And over the years, we've attended so many of the children's events, the family events. I'm there all the time for books, magazines, puzzles, museum passes, and always had great help from the librarians whenever we've needed anything that we've gone looking for. And with the interlibrary loan program, been able to track down really any book that I've ever wanted. And for the past few years, I started joining the monthly book club, which was great as an empty nester. And what's really fun is I reconnected with some of the moms that I met in the baby group when Jake was a baby, so that was really fun. All that to say, now that my kids are grown, I would like to give back to the library that has given so much to me and my family. For my background, I work in marketing. I've done leadership training, I've mediated focus groups, I've served on boards and charitable giving committees, I've managed budgets. Here in Brentwood, I volunteered to the Swayze School when my kids were little, and I served on the Brentwood Fire Department as an EMT for 8 years, most recently. So now it's time to give back to my library. So I'm really hoping, I'm happy for the opportunity, and I'm hoping that you'll vote for me in March. Thank you.
And also for library trustee, and this is a vote for up to 2, Jennifer Bordas.
Thank you. So my name is Jen Bordas, and I am running for library trustee, as they've said. I have been an alternate trustee on the library board for the past 1.5 years, and I hope to kind of continue in an elected role. Personally, I am a newcomer to Brentwood. I've lived here for 3 years now, and the library was, again, like my first point of community in the town. I have 3 young children, and we were there all the time getting books, doing some of the summer reading and all of those things, and I decided to become an alternate to kind of give back. Professionally, I am a curriculum coordinator in Oyster River, and so I spend a lot of time listening to school board meetings and things like that. So I have a pretty good understanding of the budget, RSAs, and all of those pieces. But most importantly, I do want to just give back to the library and kind of the community and supporting all of Brentwood through the library. So I'd appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. The next category is trustee of the trust funds. It is a vote for no more than 1, and Nicholas Wright.
Yes, so most people know me as Nick Wright, but I'm on the ballot this time as Nicholas Wright. Running for trustees of the trust funds, I think my best qualification in this position is that I've actually held it for about 9 or 10 years previously. I think that it did a pretty good job. Julie Avan, who is the bookkeeper, could probably attest to that. I have been the secretary, doing the minutes and stuff like that, and that's what I'll be doing again. In fact, I was reappointed to this position back in November when somebody had to step down, so I'm already in place. So I can hit the ground running, I'm ready to go. I know the systems, I know all the funds, I know the people involved. So I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you very much.
Up next is planning board, where we have 2 candidates, and it's vote for up to 2. Nathaniel Swayze.
I'm a little nervous, so I'm going to read off my phone. I apologize for that. Good evening. My name is Nathaniel Swayze, and I am running for one of the 3-year vacancies on the planning board. I've had the luxury of living in Brentwood for most of my life, and the privilege to have recently built a home to share alongside my wife and daughter. Admittedly, I have a lot to learn, but you need to start somewhere, and you need to start sometime. Fortunately, there are a lot of smart and experienced members on the current planning board that I can listen to and learn from. My hope is I can contribute to the town's present and future from the perspective of someone who has deep family roots, grew up as a kid, currently raising a family, and someone who envisions retiring in my forever home. I also feel like I can be a voice for my generation and relay some of the real-world affordability and accessibility issues we face. It's a delicate balance retaining a small rural town community while adapting to current and future needs. I think the more ideas, community input, healthy debate, compromise, and collaboration we have, the better the results can be. Lastly, I'm in full support of the town's efforts in conserving more open space. Retaining a small rural town and community is important to me. With that being said, changes, if and when they happen, hopefully can be viewed as a positive addition to Brentwood. Thank you.
Is it working? It went right. The next person is Bruce Stevens.
Thank you. I'm running for a slot on the planning board, and I've lived in town all my life, and probably been on the planning board too long, according to some people. But I was first appointed as an alternate on the planning board back in 1977. There was a board of selectmen meeting over in the old fire station on Crawley Falls Road, and sitting behind me in the aisle was Linda Rousseau. So I crossed, the chairman at the time asked me, why are you there? And I said, well, sir, I'd like to be appointed as an alternate to the planning board. He said, well, I'll think about it. He said, I want you to go home and think about it yourself and decide, are you going to take the courses and you're going to learn what you need to learn to be an effective member? He said, I don't want an answer now, but come back in a couple of weeks and talk to me again, and I'll see what I want to do. So I was appointed then, and I really have been on the planning board in some capacity since that time. Again, sitting behind me that same evening was Linda Rousseau, who got up and introduced herself at that meeting and talked about how she had applied for a grant in the New Hampshire Municipal, or New Hampshire Humanities Council to start a town newsletter. She said, if the selectmen support me, I'll follow through with that grant, and we'll get that newsletter started in Brentwood. So that was some 40 plus years ago. 50 years ago. So it's been a long time. I want to say thank you to the Brentwood residents who supported the planning board in their initiatives over the years, because it's not the planning board that enacts these ordinances, it's the voters at town meeting who approve them. So it's important that we gauge the will of the people and write ordinances that will support Brentwood and keep Brentwood the same safe, rural town that obviously so desirable for people who live here. I give a lot of credit for what the planning board's been able to accomplish over the years to Glenn Greenwood, a Kensington resident, but he's been Brentwood's professional planner for 35 some odd years, and really he's been instrumental in keeping us up to speed on where we need to go. So there's a lot of credit due there, as well as from many members who contribute over the years. And Karen Dodd sits here a couple of rows back. There's some early pictures of her from 1981. She was on the board. So we've come a long way in a lot of respects. And Brentwood is, over that period of time, looked to maintain our so-called rural character, and the town has preserved about 18% of our land mass. So that contributes toward who we are. The last thing I say, I'm running close to time here. I want to say, as Nate said, that I fully support and hope the Brentwood board is going to vote for all the proposals that the planning board is proposing this year as they relate to housing and development. I know, better than, because I've lived in town a long time, the fact that my son and I live in my house in town and work in our police and fire personnel. So we need to make some changes. The state law has said to us, or enacted a law that the governor signed, saying we must make some changes to allow some options for affordable housing. And this is what it's going to speak to show it here tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, that's not working.
All right. First technology fail of the evening.
Bruce, talk about the zoning amendments again with the microphone. No, I'm kidding.
Run out of time.
So next up is Municipal Budget Committee. There is one candidate and you vote for one, Gabrielle Kelly.
Hello everyone, I'm Gabby Kelly, on the ballot is Gabrielle Kelly. I've served on the Budget Committee for the past 3 years. How time flies. I've gotten up to speed and learned a lot as I've sat in this position on the committee, learned from so many others on the committee over the past few years, and from those that have supported me. My background, I am a former CPA, financial auditor. I did that for about 8 years, worked as a CFO consultant, and now I own my business doing some financial coaching for small business owners. I have 2 little ones. They're not so little anymore in the Swayze school. Also, mine how time flies. And although I'm running unopposed, I would deeply appreciate your vote in March of the elections. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. So next up is Select Board. We have 2 separate races for Select Board. The first is vote for one person for for a 1-year term, Bob Montegari.
Hi, my name is Bob Montegari. My God, I was elected for like 18 years. I've served on Budget Committee. I did 3 terms on that. I did Select Board for 3 terms, and then I kind of retired and tried disappearing, but I still was the health officer. I was appointed. I'm still appointed as the health officer until July of 27. I also am the representative for the Southeast Regional Refuge Committee. I started doing that in January of '23. I think I have the skill set to fill the one-year term that was vacated. I was appointed back in September. I think the position was vacated in August by John Morgan. So there was still a year and a half left. So I would like to finish out that term. I think the 1 year is critical because you need somebody that can hit the ground running and keep moving forward. It's not really, you don't have the 3-year term to kind of get up to speed. You really need to keep moving things forward. When I came in September, we had some critical positions that needed to be filled. Police chief, the fire chief was retiring. We had the rec director, town administrator. There was a lot of positions that needed to be filled. We had to move quickly and do interviews. One of the first things I did was meet with the chair of the budget committee to say, where do we stand? Because I did the budget committee, not only as the budget committee elected rep for 9 years, but then I also participated in that on the select board for a couple of years. So I have that experience. And I can tell you, when I first sat down the first day and they put the entire sheet of the budgets in front of me, my eyeballs kind of almost bugged out of my head. Professionally, I'm a major loss adjuster that deals with catastrophic losses that are over 10 million and up. So, and I handle domestic and foreign markets. I've been doing that for almost 30 years. I have 3 small ones that are now older because I'm getting older and it seems my hair gets whiter every second that I breathe. So now I have a 26-year-old, a 24-year-old, and a 21-year-old. Been living here for not as long as Bruce has been elected, but close. I think I've been here since Y2K. So I really appreciate your vote and your consideration for this 1-year slot, and hopefully we can continue to move it forward until the 3-year comes up for next year, and then I still haven't made a decision if I'm going to run for that. Thank you.
So George Koch is also running for the 1-year seat, and he is unable to be here this evening because he's traveling for work. So he prepared a statement that he asked me to read. It's in the first person, so I'm going to be reading it as if I'm him. I am running for select board because I care deeply about Brentwood, its people, and giving back to the community we proudly call home. My family moved here 5 years ago because we wanted our children to grow up in a town with strong values, a sense of connection, and a future worth investing in. My wife and I have 2 children, ages 6 and 2, and Brentwood is where we are putting down our roots. Professionally, my background is in operations and product, with a current focus on AI, automation, and process improvement. I bring a practical, data-driven approach to problem solving, always with an eye towards efficiency, transparency, and long-term sustainability. Service to the community has always mattered to me. I previously had the privilege of serving as a volunteer firefighter and EMT, and I have contributed on the communications committee where I helped modernize the town website and improve access to information. I continue to volunteer my time as needed. If elected, my top priorities will be managing property taxes responsibly and under control, guiding thoughtful growth and development, and maintaining strong infrastructure and public safety. I will also work with our state legislators to stop the downshifting of costs to our town. I believe effective leadership starts with listening, working collaboratively with fellow board members, town staff, and departments, and making well-informed decisions that respect all residents. I would be honored to serve the people of Brentwood and respectfully ask for your vote on March 10th. Let's work together to keep Brentwood a great place to live and raise a family. Next up is our second election for select board. This is vote for up to 2 candidates, and they will serve 3-year terms. First is Dave Mentor.
Thank you. My name is David Mentor. I live on North Road, Brentwood. I lived in town for 33 years. Prior to that, I lived in Fremont. I grew up over there, so I'm a local kid, haven't moved too far. In 1984, I came to Brentwood, and I was a police officer in the town for 17 years. Then I retired from that, I actually gave it up and I became a selectman, and I served 14 years on the Brentwood Board of Selectmen. I also have served as a budget committee for 1 term, and also for the checklist. In 2019, I finally retired and got off the board. I retired my full-time job. I also worked for the U.S. Postal Service for 36 years. I am now working part-time for the Sheriff's Department at the Rockingham County Courthouse 3 days a week, so I have ample time to do this again. So I'd like to get back on the board again and try it out again. The reason I'm running is because once I got off, I thought we were in good shape, the board looked nice, and stuff was going well. But as I was watching the TV over the last 3 or 4 years, I've seen how we sort of spent a lot of money, we didn't get along, and we were very rude to a lot of people that came in the meetings. We didn't treat them like we should have. So I'd like to get back on the board and try to get everything smooth over again so we can all get along, try to keep our budgets in line, and be fiscal responsible. And I appreciate your vote on my 10.
And our second candidate for this race is Paul Kleinman.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for coming out tonight. Thank you, Melissa, much appreciated. This journey started for me approximately 5 years ago when I first ran for the planning board, and then 3 years ago ran for select board. So one of my greatest joys has been to connect with long-term residents. And one of them being the man who's behind the screen over there, Andy Artimovich, who absolutely deserves praise and thanks for the 18 years of service that he's given to his community. And Andy has been an absolute mentor to me during the time that the short time I've been on the select board over the last 3 years. The other person I'd like to mention is standing in the back of the room. He doesn't know I'm going to do this, but Doug Finnan, who also spent 6 years on the planning board, is not running again this year, and also on the Rockingham County Planning Commission. Doug and I have had some great conversations on a regular basis, and I consider him a lifelong friend. And lastly, Doug has been a valuable service to this town. And lastly, someone who I carry with me and will carry with me through the rest of my life is Dick Chamberlain, who is the definition of fair and objective and moderate. So as some of you know, or maybe many of you know, I've been the select board chair for the past year, and that has also been an honor. My main goal has been to make sure that the voice of the residents have been heard. My next goal was to ensure, and in terms of being heard, I tried to do that the best I could at every meeting. My next goal was to ensure the smooth operation of the town offices. And there was a lot of transition, but we've built an incredibly talented team. Chiefs of Police Chet Murch and Roy Olson, Building Inspector Chuck Marston, Rep Director Nick Lawrence, and Town Administrator Julie Stevens, who has done an incredible job. The last goal was our select board unanimously agreed to work to recommend a level funded budget. The department heads all step to the plate and work hard to realize this goal in collaboration with the budget committee. I can report tonight that at town meeting next month that this goal was accomplished, and we will be presenting to the residents a level budget. So in sum, I'm running again to ensure that Brentwood continues building on this strong foundation and momentum. My only goal is to give back to this wonderful town that my family and I are fortunate to live in, and I'd be honored to get your vote on election day. I'd like to recognize Daphne for the work that she's done in the town offices as well. I mean, it's just an incredible, dedicated team of supporters, and really, you know, the work that's done throughout the town offices. I'm there on a regular basis, And I try to interact with the employees on a regular basis, and the dedication to me has just been remarkable. So if I haven't mentioned, Mr. Kennedy as well, if I haven't mentioned someone, I apologize, but it's quite a talented group. Thank you.
So the last election on the town side of the ballot is for moderator. That's me. I'm not going to give a speech because I'm running the meeting tonight. I don't feel like it's appropriate, but I am happy to answer questions if anyone has any during the Q&A that are directed at me. I am running again. I've served in the position for 2 years. We're moving on to our school board candidates, beginning with Melissa Litchfield.
Thank you, Melissa. I know you didn't do a speech, but I just wanted to say that you've been fabulous as the moderator, and thank you for all that you do. Thank you. So my name is Melissa Litchfield. I am running for school board. I am asking for your vote tonight. But I want to start by thanking my husband for being here. He hates it when I do this, but it's his birthday. And he loved this town so much. And he started this Yeah, great. You definitely don't want me to sing. That was it's okay, it's okay. So I served on the school board for 9 years in the town of Brentwood, 7 years as chair. I also served 6 years on the cooperative school board, and I served 4 years as the budget committee appointee. As board chair, my goal was always to bring the budget in under 2%. And also it was always to give 6 figures back to the town. I want you to understand how important Swayze is to our family, actually, and to me. We have 4 children between the ages of 15 and 23. They are all proud graduates of Swayze. One thing that I come back to very often, and you've heard me say it over and over again, that when I hold an office, it's not about what I want, it's about what the voters want. And I'd like to give you an example of that. And for example, that is when they wanted to do the renovation at CMS. It was quite a costly renovation. When they first wanted to bring the warrant article forward, I sat on the board. I made the motion to bring it forward. It was going to come forward anyway, but I made the motion because I wanted you all to have a say. Brentwood sent a resounding message out there saying, we don't want this. The next year, they came back with the exact same plan, except a few $1 million more because the cost of materials had gone up. I personally found that to be really offensive to the voters, and I was actually the only no vote on that committee to bring this to the voters because I said, enough is enough, we don't want this. I am in my 2nd term unconsecutive as your state representative. I love it. I love it so much that I do it for $100 a year. I don't mind. I don't know how my husband feels about that, but I don't mind. I serve on the Education Committee, Education Policy and Administration. And one thing that was recently said to me from the executive director of the Superintendent Association, he said, all these laws coming down from Concord, it feels like we are drinking from a fire hose. And you know what? He's right. And I am in a unique position right now to be at the State House on that Education Committee, but to also sit on the Swayze School Board and bridge that gap between what is happening in Concord and what is happening here at the ground level. On that note, I ask for your vote, and thank you so much.
So I should have, but neglected to say, we have 4 candidates for school board, and it's choose up to 2, and it is a 3-year term. Next is Kaylee Dvorak.
My speech is also on my phone, so hi everyone. Thank you for having me today. For those of you who don't know my name, I'm Kaylee Dvorak. You may know my face from my previous town role as supervisor of the checklist. I'm running for school board because I believe in public service as a good for the community. If you elect me to serve on your school board, I would do so with a focus on the welfare of students and student achievement as a driving force for making decisions. I'm willing to listen and ask questions and drive with data. I come to this role with a child in the Swayze school and one that will be attending soon, having supported the school with different initiatives throughout the years. I facilitated getting the school a grant which procured Connects kits for the STEM lab. I organized a squad of volunteers to run a STEM design challenge at the school, which challenged the students with building a Connects robot to tackle different challenges. I regularly volunteer at the library to restock books and help students check out books. In my day job, I'm a data scientist with a background in engineering who enjoys solving problems and creating self-sustaining processes. I ask for your vote to support me in serving on the school board because I would serve with an open mind and a focus on student achievement and with my problem-solving thinking. All of that being said, I look forward to hearing any questions that you have about that, and thank you.
I'm also for school board, Katie Coppola.
Hi, sorry, I'm very nervous. I normally speak in front of high schoolers, and that's much preferred, so if you could all ask to go to the bathroom at an inopportune time, that would make me feel way more at home. And I am gonna read from my sheet because that's the only way I can make it through, so I apologize if I'm not looking directly at you. Again, my name's Katie Coppola. I'm excited to be running for the position at Swayze School Board. Some of you may know me and my face from my 5 years at the Mary Bartlett Library, or working our local elections with Daphne. My family and I have proudly called Brentwood our home since 2017. I currently have 2 children who you've probably heard a little bit at Swayze. My son's in 4th grade and my daughter's in kindergarten. Our experience at Swayze has been truly amazing. The educators and staff have created a supportive, positive environment for kids that we were #1 for a reason. And I would love the opportunity to give back by supporting them as a member of the school board. As a special educator and a coach in the Timberland School District, which is just in Plastow if you don't know, I work every day to create a classroom and a team where students feel safe, supported, and free to be themselves. The belief closely mirrors Swayze's mission to foster a joyful, safe learning community where every child feels a sense of belonging. I also believe strongly in innovative and engaging learning experiences that help prepare students for the ever-changing world we're in. In my own classroom, I'm always looking for new strategies and creative approaches to help students build confidence, independence, and real-world skills. Through my work in special education and as a coach, I've had the privilege of collaborating closely with families, students, and fellow educators. I have extensive experience developing and implementing individualized education plans, or IEPs as you may know them, which require careful attention to detail, strong communication, and thoughtful collaboration with everybody. All skills that translate well to serving on the school board. I'm committed to advocating for students and families while working collaboratively with school board members and administration to ensure policies reflect the needs of our school community and maintain a safe, supportive learning environment. I also understand that many families in our community, as we are feeling the strain of rising property costs and taxes. While I'm committed to keeping Swayze strong, I'm equally committed to being mindful of expenses and the financial impact on lower income retirees and all members of our community. Strong schools and fiscal responsibility can and should always go hand in hand, and I believe they can. Again, thank you for listening to me mutter. You can probably hear my heartbeat through here. No one asked me to go to the bathroom or for a pencil, but I've made it through, and I would appreciate your vote on March 10th. Thank you.
And last but not least, Jim McIntyre.
Okay, let's see if I can take this home. Hi, everybody. Jim McIntyre, 57 Mohawk Lane. I don't know, I guess probably 70% of the people here in the audience, so I'm just going to give you some background on who I am and what I do. My wife and I moved to Brentwood a little over 5 years ago now. Yelena is my wife. We have 2 kids that go to Swayze, Alexander and Mila, ages 7 and 9. I do love Swayze School. They've had an excellent experience there. A little bit about me. I moved from Massachusetts with my mom and brother and sister when we were 14, moved to New Hampshire. I am a New Hampshire guy all the way through. Graduated from UNH with a business degree in 1996. So yes, I am a little old to have such young kids, but nonetheless, I'm feeling young at heart. For work, my first job out of college for 2 years, I was an adolescent counselor in a group home for kids that it was troubled youth. They couldn't live in their family's situation, so they lived in a home full time. Sometimes got to visit on the weekends with their parents or whatnot. So I was a caretaker. Half of my week, 60 hours a week, I was working with these kids, trying to make a difference. I was 21 years old, and after 2 years, honestly, I just got burnt out because I wasn't having the impact on those kids that I wanted to. I said, I gotta find something else to do that pays more, hopefully. I became an executive recruiter. For 20 years now, I've run my own company, helping software salespeople around the world find new jobs. All my work's over the phone and over the internet. Because you people don't know me, I coach a ton, so you know I can talk. As a recruiter though, you have to listen. And that was my skill set. I only got paid if somebody took a job, 100% commission with my own business for 20 years. I never tried to talk someone to take a job. I always asked them, is this the right job? Why? If it is, let me help you get it. So I think that's a real strong skill of mine that people might not know. You know I can talk, but you might not know. I really do know how to listen. Fast forward here now. The last 2 years, I've had the ability to be a substitute teacher. So in the SAU 16 school system here, I've been subbing at the elementary schools. I've done a bunch at Swayze, East Kingston Elementary I was at today, substituted with kindergarten class. And I just love to be involved with the kids. I've coached my son Alexander Mila's soccer team and basketball team in rec from kindergarten all the way up now to 2nd and 4th grade. I coach flag football, FC Exeter soccer, Seacoast United, Exeter track. I love to be around the kids. Like, they make me feel young, and they make me want to help them prepare for the world. And when I ask myself, why do I want to run for the school board? Part of it is so that I can give my input and listen and make the best decisions in a group setting to say, hey, this is what I think will be best for the kids. So I've done it on the rec board for the last 2 years, and I think I listen to the people in general, make the best decisions. Thank you very much, Bob.
So that's all of our candidate statements. We're going to take a minute to learn about the 2 zoning amendments that you'll be asked to vote on the ballot, and Kristen from the planning board is going to introduce those for us.
Hi everyone, my name is Kristen Aldred, and I am honored to be your planning board chair for the last few years. We have more than 2 zoning ordinances up this year. We have quite a few things for folks to vote on. I want to give you a little bit of background because this is work that the planning board has been doing for about 3 years now. We identified some needs around housing. We got a couple of grants. We've done surveys, a community forum, lots of public meetings, and appreciate folks who have participated in those and given us feedback. Along the way, we identified a few things that needed, some attention. One, there's a state law in the books for workforce housing, which is meant to create opportunities for people who are at the median income. We are not currently in compliance with state law, and we've had that looked at probably 3 times, and everyone's drawn the same conclusion. So that puts us at some risk. So that's number one. Another one is multifamily. We had a multifamily zone on the books right now that's not really functional. So we wanted to address that. And then accessory dwelling units. We got some feedback from folks that they would like to, convert a garage or a barn or something detached from their home, and that wasn't allowed or isn't allowed currently under our ordinance. What also happened during this time is that the state stepped in and passed some laws. So you all know that these housing issues about affordability and access are nationwide, statewide. So state legislators passed and the governor signed a couple of bills. One now requires towns to allow multifamily development in commercial zones. So for us, that's along Route 25 and Route 27. And towns now have to allow detached accessory dwelling units. So multifamily accessory dwelling units and workforce housing, those are all things that we had talked about and wanted to address. And they're also all consistent with what the state is mandating. I really want to thank the planning board because we've put in a lot of work this year. I want to thank everybody for their time. I think most of our members are here. I want to thank Mark Kennedy, who is always available. If anybody has any questions, you can call him, stop in. And we have a community meeting 2 Thursdays from tonight at the library. So if you want to know more about what we've been working on and what the ordinances are all about, please come by, and there are also some fact sheets. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. So now we are entering the question and answer portion of our evening. I have 2 questions that were emailed in, so I'm going to start with those. The first is directed to, well, they're both directed to select board candidates. The first question is, how do you plan to involve the residents in more of the decision-making processes? So who would like to go first?
I like to talk, so. I think it's important to get the input, and one of the things that I saw over the last couple of years is and I agree with Dave Mentors, I didn't hear that they were asking for the community input at a lot of the meetings. I like getting the input and finding out how people think throughout the meeting and asking, does anybody have any comments on this topic that we're talking about? It's important to get everyone's input so that way we can make an educated decision on how we move the town forward. What are the wants? I know just since I've been for the last several months, trash is one of those things that we're talking about. We need to get that input. When we were being on the rec, just talking to everyone on the rec, finding out what the input is, what are the needs, what are the wants. Everyone comes with a different perspective, and you have to be able to hear them, listen to them, and you don't have to like it. You just have to either try to work with it, or is it something that's feasible? And what's the majority of everyone want? And then moving everything forward accordingly. Dave, Paul, you guys want that?
So like I had said earlier, one of the main points for me was to make sure that the residents were heard. And when I became chair, I opened up the meeting so that people could speak after a topic, at public comment, at all important points in the meetings to make sure that every resident's voice was heard. But I think more important to me is what happens outside of those meetings. So that requires showing up. So it means coming to the breakfast. It means going to the gathering night out. It means going to all of the wonderful events that we have in Brentwood. And I can't say that I make all of them, but I try to make as many as I can so that I could speak to people and hear what they have to say. My policy has been one of open door, which means that if you want to come and talk to me about your concerns, then give me a call or shoot me an email, and I will, meet you, whether it be at the donut shop or my office, which is right on 125. I'm happy to do that anytime with anyone, anywhere, and I think I have.
You pretty well covered a lot. When we do have meetings going, I would like to have it open up more of a public input when we're there at the meeting, let people allowed to speak, ask questions. And also with me, I'm very approachable, I'm around town a lot. You see me, no problem talking to you, even at Market Basket, Walmart, or everywhere. If you see me, I'll talk to you if you got a problem. I did that before when I was on, and a lot of times we'd go shopping for 5 minutes and spend an hour talking to you. But I'm very approachable, and I'm all for all the input from all the residents. If you see me, I'll talk to you about it. If I can help you, I will. If not, I'll pass it on to the group and we'll work on it.
Okay, the second question that was emailed to me in advance is also directed at the select board candidates, and it is what do you see as the top 2 needs of the community currently? And we're gonna go in reverse order. So you're first.
Needs. The need to try to be affordable that's my first thing. I mean, we have a lot of wants, we have a lot of needs. We gotta determine what's what. I know we wanted a new PD, but did we really need it or not? I mean, that's one of the questions. Taxes have gone through the roof. I know I've been here 30 years, and the last year I was up like 30% more. And we gotta do something with that. Try to curb the budget, work within our means, not with what we want. And that's anything that's financially trying to make this a place where older people could stay and finish their time up. I know I plan on staying there till the end. I have a lot of the cemetery, I have a stone on it, ready to stay here. Hope other people can do it too.
Now that's planning it.
And as many of you know, or as many have come to find out, about fiscal responsibility. So I think that is a real need. And I think that we accomplished that, as I mentioned this past year, because we're going to present a level budget. But I think the other need is to maintain those town services. And I think while we've been able to maintain a level budget, we've also been able to maintain town services. We've built a police force that I think we can be proud of. We've done the same with the fire department and the advanced life safety team that's over there. We've have the roads that are gonna be paved, assuming people vote for that at town meeting. So, highway has done a great job in getting our snow plowed, so all those essential services have continued to occur under our watch. Regarding a police department, I do believe that in order to retain individuals and have a top-notch police department, we are ultimately going to be needing to move the police out of the basement into a building that we can be proud of, but that's going to be something that we're going to have to look at carefully in terms of what the costs are going to be and how we're going to pay for that in terms of bonding. So those are all things that will be coming down the pike, and I hope to be part of that.
And for needs, I think, I was on the first building committee for the police department. I think that was 7 years ago. Was it 7? I think 8 years ago. I haven't ordered a stone yet, but I guess I should. You got an order for it? Thanks, cemetery, great. Should we spell my name right? I'll never come back and check, I promise. I think we do need to do needs assessment. I think that was one of the big things when every time we hired somebody, I think with the police chief coming in, we did a needs assessment. The new fire chief, I think that was one of the things that we looked at. As a matter of fact, we added a position. So there is actually another, I think they have 4 lieutenants over there and the chief, so they have 5 bodies over there, I believe. And, we gotta continue to look at how we can still provide the services, but also control the taxes. I think my first year here, I think my taxes were around $4,800. Now I'm sitting at around 16,000, 17,000 if I remember correctly. Okay, so let's go 20 years out. I'm hoping I'm not gonna be in that stone. They don't have perpetual care, so I guess I don't have to worry about that. But can I really afford to go up in that increment again? I mean, what are we gonna be looking at, 40,000, 50,000? So it has to be affordable. And everyone needs to look at how can they manage within their budget. We do it at home, I do it at work, and we have to be prudent with the taxpayers' money, but we also still have to deliver a service. And I'm pretty big on, I know there was a nightstand at the town hall. Bang, I got a call from Daphne, I was there. I was there last week, I was there again. I was sticking my head out the window and smashing icicles off the roof. And again, it doesn't cost anything for me, but we do have to get people out there so we can save from having $10,000 to $20,000 in damage. And I think that's what you really need, people that are on the board that are actually going to show up, that are there, and that's critical. And then managing the needs, I think the affordable, coming up with the planning board, they've done, yeoman's work as far as coming up with what has to be done in order to comply with the laws and the regulations that are passed down, in order to coming up with affordable housing ordinances and regulations so we can continue to move forward. I'm Still a big proponent on conservation. I was on that commission for a while. I like preserving open space, but we still have to manage and comply with everything and make affordable housing available. So those are the needs that we gotta look at going forward. And I'm hoping I can do some of that work over the next year.
Okay, that's the emailed questions. You guys can help me get my steps in. If you raise your hand, I'm happy to bring you a microphone, or you can come forward. Who has questions? All right, Bill.
I think this is probably for the planning board, but it might be for whoever wants to answer it. I want to know what the consequences are if we don't pass the ordinances that are proposed to be in compliance with state regulations. Anybody can answer that.
You want to come up, Kristen?
Kristen, yeah.
Thank you, Kristen.
So I'll start with the easy one. The ADU ordinance is, state law is already in effect. So you can build a detached accessory dwelling unit in Brentwood today. What the ordinance does is put some parameters around that. And that's really what all these ordinances do, is give us some more local control. We get to define things. We get to set some criteria to, to look at applications by. Workforce housing, like I said, we're out of compliance with the law right now. We can be challenged. I know folks have, talked about this in the past. It was on the books, it was voted out. We're proposing to put it back on the books. There is a lot more attention and scrutiny and pressure around housing issues. So we feel strongly that that needs to be back on the books to protect Brentwood. And then the biggest one, if you have one of those packets and you flip to the back, there's a long explanation about what could happen if that ordinance doesn't pass. That's the multifamily commercial. We did ask our town attorney for her opinion, and that's incorporated in that statement. Basically, if we don't pass it and somebody proposes a multifamily development in one of our commercial areas and we deny the application, we will be taken to court and we will lose. And so again, what the ordinance does is give us more control. So we're setting limits on, what the density could be. We're saying that 50% of the first floor of multifamily units need to be commercial space so that we can have some mixed-use developments. So it gives us some more control over what kind of developments can take place here. And if we don't have that ordinance, we don't have anything to measure or stand by if somebody proposes something.
Bruce, we got a bet over this, didn't we? I remember that. Bruce had said that if we don't pass this, then what would happen is the planning board would automatically have to deny the application. And I said, no. Actually, what would happen is we would have to, as a planning board, look at it, and as long as the infrastructure was there for the multifamily project, then the planning board would be obliged to pass the project and the application. Because the way the state law reads is that as long as the infrastructure is there for that multifamily unit, it will have to move forward. So what this ordinance does, and this is just to follow up on Kristen, is, I don't know where she went. Back there, yeah. To follow up on what Kristen said, is that this gives us local control. So what we put into this new ordinance is that the ground floor level of any multifamily will have some mixed retail, because we want to keep that along 125. It requires 50% on the ground floor. There's also a number of other provisions in the ordinance which will allow us to maintain what we want here in Brentwood. For example, we're talking about multifamily that would be limited to up to 8 units with a first 1-story or up to 35 feet in terms of height. So, which could be 2 stories, Kristen, or is that just one? 2 stories, okay. So, you know, and it would be 6 units per acre with a potential bonus of 2 additional units under affordable housing. So, you know, otherwise, we could be looking at something much greater in terms of size and capacity, as long as the infrastructure would support it. So, you know, this is important, I think, for us to maintain that local control and keep things contained and constrained, if you will. So I hope that's helpful to everyone.
Liz? I have a question, but I also have a follow-up. I'm an alternate to the planning board, and if we vote this down, it could vote down the zoning ordinances that have been really looked at in the last year and a half specifically, then it could be much, much worse. So even if you don't like what they say, they're the best possible outcomes that we could find for Brentwood. The center of the town is still gonna be residential, agricultural. We're only talking about multi-family on the Route 27 and 125, and not even on Pine Road, because that's too industrial. So it could be much, much worse, and we could be sued, and we would probably lose. Please look at the last page on this, on the handout. My questions for the 2 candidates for the trustees of the library. I would like to know what each of you thinks the role of the Friends is. What is the role of the Friends?
So I'm Jen, and I think the role of the Friends of the Library is to actually support all of the programming and the kind of the wants of the library. So we worked really, really hard to come under budget this year, and the only reason we were able to do that is because the Friends subsidized so many things like the Santa visits and a huge part of summer reading. So I think that the Friends are critical to helping support the wants, and then the town supports the needs.
Yeah, similarly, I think that they add on a lot more than we can provide, so they add on much more than we do within our budget. The museum passes in particular, absolutely fantastic. A lot of the programming that they bring in, so many additional programs that we could provide within just our budget. So they do a phenomenal job, and we're very fortunate to have them as an add-on to what our town can offer for the library.
More questions? Go here and then here.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Laura Braverman at 57 Three Ponds. And my question with respect to the planning board and the whole, you know, the regulations that we have to put into place, how does that affect our tax base? Now, obviously, it would expand the tax base if we have more people coming in there, but in terms of the town financials, how would that work in terms of revenue and expense?
Kristen, you want to take it? Or Bruce, did you want to?
Bruce is getting ready to volunteer.
Yeah, you can take it if you want.
Sure. So, essentially, I think most of the town traditionally has liked to keep 125 and 27 open for commercial ventures, and figured that that would add something to our commercial tax base. Unfortunately, as we all know, Brentwood doesn't have the water and sewer infrastructure that we would need to lure in large businesses. But if we don't vote, you know, for these proposals that are before the town, we may lose our option to maintain that 50% of the ground floor area of those additional multifamily buildings for commercial space. So we'll lose whatever, we could lose that 50% of the retail space, down the road. But again, it's the water and sewer infrastructure that's the big problem. Even Epping, of course, we have the Market Basket Plaza and many proposals for some large, couple hundred plus unit apartments. Right now, they're on, you probably read on Seacoast Online today, they're looking for a $38 million bond to do some remedial work on their sewer system, because their sewer system is putting about 50% of their sewage into the Piscataqua River at this point. So Epping doesn't have it. A lot of people said, hey, Brentwood ought to look into water and sewer, but it would be a multi-million, hundreds of millions of dollars, not just to run the water lines, but to, to build a water plant. You'd have to buy some land and have a water well on it, and then build your treatment plant and then all the piping. So it just really is unrealistic. So basically what we can best do is to preserve as much of that commercial space as we have now, and we can do that through a positive vote here by townspeople on these regulations. But unfortunately, there's no magic bullet, I'm afraid to say. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Susan Benton, and I actually have a question for George, who's not here tonight, who's running for the select board. I guess my question to him would be, do you do a lot of travel in your position? Do you do a lot of international travel? Excellent, because that was an issue on our select board in the past.
I can only say what was in his email to me, which was that travel for work is incredibly rare for him, but it happened to coincide with the CUPIC. How he defines incredibly rare, I don't know, but he did use those words in his email to me. More questions? Mr. Miller.
I'm gonna stay seated because I'll probably fall over if I stand up. But the question I had goes to like my work experience. At the beginning of every work event, next year or whatever, we always talked about goals we wanted to set and how we would be measured to achieve them. So for all those running for the select board, I would ask that what would be your number one goal? At the end of the year, how would you determine if you achieved it? And then tie it back to the master plan. And Paul, you anticipated my question, so you don't have to answer unless you'd like to.
Well, you already went to Paul, so we're gonna go to Paul first.
Okay.
I'll defer
Well,
to
you said Paul didn't have to answer.
Okay, I'll go to me. When I get a new claim, for example, I have to analyze what they have, and I think doing a needs assessment, and really after the meeting, that's when you kind of get the marching orders going forward for the next year. And then making sure that we're building on the health insurance plans. That was a big focus that I helped with this year. Looking at that stuff, and I was part of that committee. And then just making sure, is it really delivering the needs for what the town's employees need? Is it delivering for what the town people are looking for? And I think at the end of the year, I wanna make sure that we're delivering something that's palatable to the townspeople, but also palatable for the employees. And is everyone, everything's not gonna be palatable, but you're gonna try to make it as palatable as possible. So I don't wanna make everyone extremely happy, and I don't wanna make everyone extremely angry. I wanna kind of mediate and make sure that we continue to move forward, that we're doing our due diligence, and we're addressing issues as they come up. One of the things that I think the select board does is we're oversight, and we're there if they need us. If they got a call and say there's an issue at the town hall, that we're running down there. I know Jim Michaud, he helps plow, right? We need plow drivers, so he does that. So there's certain things that I think we can contribute to the town, and I hope that we do that. And then I guess it's really how the citizenry around town looks at us and says, hey, thank you very much for doing that. You've helped out. I'd like to be available as much as possible. I do work in an office one day a week, which is in Bedford, New Hampshire, or Boston. I have an office in both. But for the most part, I'm around all the time. whether I'm jamming my Jeep into a snowbank or whatever else, but I'm usually around. And if there's anything that's needed, I'm usually right away able to get out there and address those issues. So to me, at the end of the year, for needs assessment, I guess if I'm re-looking at everything, I want to make sure that I've addressed every single issue that was brought to me. And if I don't have the answer, I'm going to try to go find it.
I don't know where to start on this. I've been out of the town for 7 years as far as a board, so I don't know what a lot of the needs have been as far as employees, insurance, and all that stuff. My one thing in mind is to be fiscally responsible, so we can keep the taxes down and give it, that's my main thing. But as far as who needs what from employees, I have no idea. It's been 7 years since I've sat in that office, so it's something I'm gonna have to learn and see what's going on with it, because I really don't know. Sorry, I couldn't answer that.
So again, I'm proud of the fact that we're gonna be presenting a level budget to the town this year. I'm not gonna pretend that that's gonna happen every year. Some things really fell into place that allowed that to happen. And part of that was related to the police department and really all the department heads working with us in a fantastic way, but very significantly, Chief Murch, worked with us in a real significant way. I know he has spoken to us as well about, the idea that at some point, we are going to need a new police department. So, and I think if, people want to tour, the building and see what our folks down there are dealing with, then you'll understand why that need is. So if we can build something, down the road after looking at it and scrutinizing that we can be proud of, then, I think that is something, if we budget it correctly, potentially, it can even remain within the 4% tax cap that we have in terms of bonding. And if it doesn't, then it'll be out there as well for the people to vote for at town meeting and make a determination on. But, I think, we have to look at fiscal responsibility, but we also have that balance of something that may be a need like that down the road.
More questions?
This is a school-related question. We get this question sometimes at the planning board, talking about developments and what it might mean for the school population. And I'm wondering about school choice, and Representative Litchfield, you probably know more. I don't know the question to really ask, but how that fits into the picture and what that could mean for Brentwood.
So are you asking, how I personally feel about school choice, or what I think it would do to Brentwood? So being a teacher, we've had professional developments on school choice, so I probably don't know as much as Melissa, because she's up in government and in the fancy world, and I'm just being talked to by principals and superintendents. But from my understanding as an educator, school choice is gonna make it hard on school districts. I personally, and this is my personal opinion, don't agree with it. It's gonna hurt the towns with the really good school districts, because kids are going to be bussed in, taxes are gonna get messed up. There's no parameters for it, and it just could get messy. And I would love to believe that school choice would be a great thing. I mean, I would love to choose where my kids go to school. My kids wanna go to my high school because I work there. But it's who's gonna pay for this kid, what if they get services, where is the tax money gonna come from, who's gonna bus them in, is it our tax money, is it the town they're coming from's tax money? So I think it's a very confusing proposition, and I think it could make Swayze overcrowded, and maybe needing more teachers, a bigger building, if we have a lot of kids choosing to go to Swayze, which we are a really good elementary school. So I could see a lot of people, and I've heard people say, oh, if I could choose, I would go there. And that could be a tax burden on us, because we're the ones paying for teachers that comes in. We're the ones that would have to make a bigger building. So that's scary. And then, you know, what if kids leave our district? That's also money leaving, so it's just, I don't know the full logistics, because it's not run in New Hampshire right now. But that's what I know as an educator, and that's what I fear is it's such an unknown in the class sizes and money. It's just too much unknown for me to feel comfortable with it in Brentwood, or anywhere really in New Hampshire.
I don't know if you attended the deliberative session about the school board for the SAU 16. Thank you. I know there was a lot of typos on that. But for the deliberative session, there is a bill on, there's a warrant article on the ballot about specifying that we would be an open enrollment school that would accept 0 students from the external schools and allow 0 of our students to exit. So basically what it means is we'd be keeping our tax dollars for our students. So just for clarity, if you see that on the bill, that's what it's related to as well.
I'd like to answer the question, but I will tell you straight up, I'm no expert in this area. This is one of the situations where I would need to learn more info. I did see the video. I watched it from the superintendent of schools. It was sent to my email, I think, 2 days ago. I've watched it twice. The recommendation was to not be in favor of having kids, this is what was said on the video, to not come into our school system. And it was leading you to believe that because it would be more expensive if we did allow that. But what would be important to me is to really have a breakdown on the numbers as to how we arrive at this is going to be more expensive, how many kids would leave, when it seems to me like nobody really would have any idea how many kids would leave or how many would come in. So how can you really make a decision on this topic? So I think I'm wasting your time by talking anymore, honestly.
Thank you. So I want to start by saying thank you for the question. There's quite a bit to unpack with this, and I do want to say that any information that I give you is relevant to exactly what's happening today. This is moving quickly, it's evolving, anything I could tell you could be different next week, okay? As far as open enrollment is concerned, there are definitely pros and cons to it. I would say for the town of Brentwood, it would probably be a benefit. That being said, at the state level, I just want you to know that however I would vote, we haven't voted yet, it's in the Senate. I would vote depending upon what our residents want to see. That being said, what's out there right now is 80% of the cost of the sending district would follow the child, okay? Proponents of this are looking at it like they're kind of frustrated because we have schools that are all over the map in the state. Some are performing really well, some are not performing really well. Parents are frustrated and they want to shake things up and they want to see a change. So this is to help those kids so that certain kids are not tied to a certain school or a certain lifestyle based upon their zip code, all right? As we discussed, you can set parameters around it. So you can say at your school, we accept 0 children, or let's say you could say 10 or 12. And I'm gonna take our Brentwood classrooms, for example. We have some classrooms with 12 children, some classrooms with, let's say, 18 children. And you could argue both sides, and you might feel that 18 is too big. But that being said, some people feel 12 is too small. You want your children to be socialized, exposed to more people. Any money that those people are bringing in is gravy for the town of Brentwood. So if you're worried about large increases in the school budget, kids that are coming from other schools because we have great proficiency rates, the money is following them. Regarding transportation, the parents are responsible for the transportation. This has been done in other states across the nation. Statistically speaking, it has not impacted those other places simply because how far are you really going to travel to take your child to a different school? 90% of the people move to a community because of that school. They want their roots in the community. They want to be with the other families. I'm trying to think, do you have other questions around it? Because the gist of it is, the way that it's looking right now, and I want to say that it's been on the books probably for the past 20 years, by the way, where open enrollment has actually been out there. It's just nobody has hopped on board with it. But that being said, the local school districts, which you've heard and you've seen, they can put parameters around this regarding any schools, students that will be accepted or not accepted. I'm just gonna give you an example of a negative, and we'll take a Seabrook, is not to pick on them, or a Pittsfield, but let's say that their proficiency rates are not, let's say, as good as Brentwood, which is a testament to the parents and to the students for sure. So in that particular school district, yeah, if they don't set parameters limiting the number of students that leave, if they have 12 or 15 students leave, could cost them $300,000, absolutely. So I understand why people are concerned about the unknown, but when it comes to the town of Brentwood and SAU 16, I'm telling you right now, that money is gravy for all of you. It would be good for us. So that's it. If you have any further questions, please let me know.
I actually have a further question. Just because I'm in the special ed world, they get free and fair appropriate education, and they cost way more than your average student. Is that going to be coming from the school district as well if they come here? Because you said only 80%, so like 20%.
It's the sending district. The sending district is going to cover the special education
But
costs.
only 80%.
Oh, you know what, I don't wanna say anything.
I'm just
because
wondering,
it's- Yes, it's evolving, and the Senate has literally just kind of taken over their own bill. The last I saw, I thought it was 100%, but I don't wanna give you misinformation. I can look into that and I can get back to you, anyone that's curious. But no, it falls on the sending district. Even transportation for a special ed student, I'm sure is going to.
It's because that's so, I know
Yes,
one
that would be
girl,
on sending.
a month, it's $100,000 for her to get to school in district. It's $100,000 a month. And I mean, I'm a special educator, so I understand, but like one student, $100,000.
So at the state level, we're looking into what can we do about special education costs as well.
Can I ask a follow-up? So when you say 80% of the cost, so in Brentwood, let's say the average cost to educate a student is $10,000, just for an easy number to work with, right? Like, I know that's wrong, but like a workable number for all of us. When we say that $10,000 in Brentwood and it's $1,000 in Seabrook, are we getting $800 or are we getting $8,000 of that 80%?
It's 80% of the cost of the receiving district, right, Melissa?
8,000.
No. Right, so so it's supposed to be 80%, actually it was, it may have evolved.
Sure, but.
Okay, as of a couple months ago, it was actually 80% of the sending district, not to exceed the receiving district's cost per student.
Right.
The rationale between that 80-20 is their argument is that you don't have to cover the SAU administrative cost for that student, and you don't have to cover transportation.
Yeah.
And I want you to understand, I'm the messenger and I'm conveying this. It doesn't mean that I necessarily support this.
No, understood. I just was trying to understand if, so we would be getting if the cost to educate a student is less in the sending district, you wouldn't be getting the full cost burden, like the full cost of caring for them in district is all I'm saying.
As of right now, but again,
Yeah,
we're negotiating between the two
Yeah,
houses.
understood. And
But
I
that
understand you're
being
just the messenger and you're not
Yes.
communicating your own
That being
beliefs.
said, the town of Brentwood is actually under the state average cost per student, so we'll be fine.
Just making sure I understood. Thank you.
Next question?
Jed Miller, Dudley Road. The same question for the candidates for school board. What would be your number one goal for your next year, and how would you measure yourself against it, and how does it relate back to the school's mission statement?
I'm gonna start with Jen.
I'm glad you asked that question to this group, because I said to myself, how would I answer that if he had asked us? And I'm still not 100% sure, but I will take it back to my business degree and say, a goal has to be measurable. So my goal cannot be, well, I want it to be better a year from now, or I want people to get along, or I want people to approve. It has to be something I would have set in stone to say, Did I accomplish anything? So my goal for the first year would be to present or bring to the board one idea that would be passed and passed unanimously. I'm not gonna tell you what the idea would be, but I would consider it in a first year, because I have no experience on the school board, just so you all know. I'm walking with zero experience, but I'm pretty quick on my feet, and I wouldn't be looking to come in and upset the apple cart, because I'm the person with the least amount of experience. But if I could come up with one idea that everybody said, hey, we haven't thought of that before, let's do it, then I would consider that a success, because then I'd be really dangerous in year 2 and 3.
Kaylee?
So I think for a school board, your starting point is student welfare, right? So I think you gauge your success on the success of the students. Obviously, there's a financial cost to educating your students, but so balancing those things out. But I think you start with your student wellness and your student achievement, and gauge your success against that.
That's a really good question. I was also thinking the same thing as Jim. I was sitting here, I was like, oh gosh, I'm glad you didn't ask me. And then you did, which, you just got me on my toes. So, as a special educator, IEPs, all goals have to be measurable. So now I'm like at 80% out of 4 trials. But for me, again, it's my first year like Jim. I would want to be a sponge. You can't really measure being a sponge, but I'd want to listen would be the number one. I want to listen to people in town. I want to listen to parents with kids in the school district. I want to listen to teachers. I want to listen to paras. I want to listen to everyone, and I want to soak it all in. And then I think I could come up with a goal, because I don't know what everyone needs right now. I know what I would like to see, but that's not what our town needs, what I need. So I'd be a sponge. I'd listen and I'd learn, because learning is number one, and that's why we're there, and that's why the kids are there. So I would listen and learn year 1, and my goal would be to find something that everyone can agree on, and hopefully we can pass it, and through listening and learning, maybe we can achieve something incredible.
Thank you, and thank you for the question. I think one of the most important things that I'd like to bring up is just experience. And I know we've talked about, let's say, Bob hitting the ground running when it comes to select board. We are hiring a new principal at Swayze this year. I have years of experience. I think it's important that we have someone with experience there to help and guide that principal through. Regarding school board roles and responsibilities, absolutely 100%. I want to see us do well. I want to see the children be happy and healthy, of course. But I wouldn't be there to micromanage. The job of the school board, it's in their quote-unquote job description, is budget and policy. So that's what we look at. It's up to the teachers, the principal, everyone else to keep the children happy and safe. On that note, though, I did start the Safety and Security Fund, so I'll give a little plug for that, though. But that being said, I would like to look at the budget, since that's our purview. I would definitely want to keep it, as I mentioned, at least under 2%. The year that I left, I want to say it skyrocketed to maybe 8 or 10%. And then even this year, I want to say it might have been at 3.5% plus a collective bargaining agreement on top of that. So I would also be looking to keep that increase down. I'd also want to give money back to the town. I would want to keep a capital improvement plan on track. I would want to make sure there are reserve funds, which we have 3 different reserve funds. We have special education. The goal is to keep it at $250K or less, because if you have a very expensive out-of-district placement, as we've mentioned here, a special education student, that's a surprise. We don't want to have to freeze the school budget or have a special meeting and come back to you, the taxpayer, for money. So we need to make sure that we have that money there. We have a safety and security account. We also have a maintenance account. Same thing, we've had issues before where the oven's gone, the furnace is gone, etc. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention, and this was regarding the capital improvement plan, I just want us to be really careful. For example, the solar panels will put up, I believe it was about $800,000 for that. I've had staff members reach out to me and tell me that they've seen buckets where there's leaks from the roof. We need to stay on top of that sort of thing. So I'm definitely student-centered. I want to work with people. There's also a school board policy that we are not to talk directly to staff about anything. They go directly to their administration. But budget and policy, I'm your person. Thank you.
I think one person behind you, yeah. Then back to you.
Hi, I'm Joe Delisle, Michael Bennett Road. I had a question for Mr. Koch, but he's not here, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. I want to know why he decided to run for the 1 year interim select board seat position and not the full 3-year term. This is a 1-year position where you need to hit the ground running, get the job done effectively, and then you're gonna be done. I also wanted to ask him to specifically tell us how he would have overcome having no prior select board or budget committee experience and successfully develop a municipal budget in a tax cap environment all in 1 year. After he answered, I was gonna ask Mr. Monagari to follow up on it, but he's not here, so I wanted to ask him.
Yeah, the answers to those questions aren't in the email. Do you want to comment?
Sure, I guess. I think I can hit the ground running. I did, I know when I was appointed to fill the seat that was vacated, I have the experience, I have the knowledge base, I have the drive. I don't shy away from too much. Actually, I don't know if I shy away from anything, except if it was a snake. If it was a snake or something like that, I might run. If it's an alligator, I'm out. I hate snakes and I hate alligators. That's why I live up north. If I could, I'd be in Alaska because they got permafrost. It'd be all set. It's cold though. I think I like to see results, and I like to make sure that that we're managing things properly. I like to have the focus. I really enjoy being on the rec commission right now. I'm enjoying that. I was very proud of sitting on those interviews and going through the interview process and being engaged with the town administration interview process, the rec commission interview process, talking to the other select board members and trying to work as a team and having that open communication. I hate when somebody puts a wall up in front of me. I will try to go through it or around it. It's really building a team and working as a team. So I think I have that experience to move things forward quickly. I'm looking to finish out this term that was vacated. And I think I made some significant strides with budget committee. One of the first things when we came in that we talked about was, can we have a level funded budget? Can we be a little bit more prudent, especially when we found out what the tax impact is gonna be. I wanna make sure we're building up the rainy day fund. It was kind of upsetting to me that we didn't have any money to offset anymore because that had been depleted. So I wanna make sure that we're building those things back up with our revenue counts and everything else that are coming in. We were unable to offset the tax impact this year because we didn't have the funding in there. I like numbers, I'm a numbers guy. I will look at those, I'm pretty aggressive on that stuff. If anybody's watched any of the select board meetings, I don't hold back too much. If I'm passionate about something, everyone's gonna know about it. And I think you need to have somebody that can hit the ground running for this 1 year. It's difficult to come in and observe. I have to learn all the parliamentary procedures. I have to learn what happens with Robert's rules and how a meeting is run. And move the motion, making a motion, seconding the motion, and keeping track of all that. And I think when you really haven't served, that's a problem. Another concern I have is, yeah, people travel, there's vacations and stuff like that. But I like to make myself available. I can tell you that I've already postponed. I had already had a trip to be traveling. My family is leaving before me to go to Europe. After the town meeting that night, we better hopefully be done on time so I can make my flight, because it just cost me a lot of money to change my flight. They're leaving 2 days before, so I'm gonna catch up to them in Milan on Sunday because I'm staying for the town meeting. So I'm pretty passionate about serving, and if I commit to something, I'm gonna be there. I think I've been there consistently, ever since getting reappointed in September, I've been at all the meetings. I've been pretty diligent about talking to the employees and talking to everyone in the community to get the feedback of what direction everyone wanted to go in. And I heard it very strong and clear. People were not happy about their tax bills. That was a gut punch for a lot of people. So, you know, and my taxes went up a couple $1,000. So it's a focus for me right now to focus for the next year. And I was the chair before, and I was the vice chair before, so I have the tenure, I think, to move things forward.
I would just say as a comment, I've been, as Melissa knows, I've been a litigator for 40 years. It's a hard job. This job as select board member is the hardest job I've ever done, but rewarding to do it for you folks and the residents.
Mr. Miller had another question, and then I'll get to you, Ron. Okay, thank you.
Robin Wright, Middle Road. My first statement I'd like to make is to say thank you to all of the fine candidates here tonight. Thank you to David Mentor, to Gabby Kelly, to Paul Kleinman, to Nick Wrighton, to Melissa Litchfield, to Bruce Stevens, to Jim Hadger, to Bob Mentagari. Thank you for running, winning an election, and serving your full term. Experience counts. I'd like to say thank you because you've all filled your terms. And my question is more geared towards this end of the room because you're new candidates. Thank you very much for putting yourselves into this. But we've seen some problems in the last few years with people who have committed, run, been elected, and quit. For whatever reason, many reasons, but they didn't fill their term. And what I'd like to know from the school board, from the library trustees, from the new gentleman running for planning board, if you're running, first question is, have you run for a position in the past that you've had to step down from? And if you are elected, will you commit to serve your terms? That's my question.
So we're gonna score it down.
I think he's new too.
Oh,
I intend to, if voted in, serve my term to the best of my ability. As I stated in my speech, that I am kind of a native, and what got me to run in the first place was I had a conversation with an existing planning board member at a neighborhood function, and I expressed some concerns to him about housing in general in Brentwood, and more explicitly about the affordability for people my generation. And what really prompted it was I was really against the multifamily housing on commercial land because of traffic, and just thought it would deteriorate the character of the town. But as being involved in the meetings and listening to them, I have come to a different light in that sense. Anyway, so I want to be involved. I'm raising a family. I intend to live here, and I'm going to be affected with these changes over the next 20, 30, 40 years, and I'm going to have to live with them. So I want to be involved in those decisions, changes. As I said, I hope any changes that do happen can be an attribute to the town. So I want to be involved. My dedication is the long term. So that's where I stand on that.
I have never been in an election before. This is my first time. It's really exciting. but I am taking it very serious, just so people know. I have been on the rec board for the last 2 years and change. I've been to every meeting except for the meetings where I go to practice. And if you're in a meeting, the last one we were at, I said, I want to be out of here, I think it was by 7 o'clock, because my 3rd and 4th grade girls team from Brentwood is practicing. We're undefeated, and this is the most fun thing in my life right now. So I'm just telling you all, I would rather be there than here. And I got out of there at the time I said, and I think, I actually will pat myself on the back, that the people there must like me, because they were like, Jim, go ahead, we know you want to go. And I would commit to you, God willing, Robin, I would be at every meeting.
I think that's a great question. I haven't run for anything in the town office before, but I was a single mom. My son is actually sitting in the back, my 25-year-old son. I worked full-time, and I also served as an EMT on the Brentwood Fire Department for 8 years. It's a 2-year certification process, so every 2 years you've got to go through a pretty intensive retraining program and testing program. And I think it was after 6 years, I said to my kids, you know, I'm doing this at night, I'm on call during the night, I'm working during the day, I'm running out and dinners and you guys, you know, maybe this is the time that I step down. And they said, no, Mom, what you do is important, we're good, you keep going. But every 2 years when I made that commitment, it was for the full 2 years. So at the end of 8 years, my body finally said, no more. But now that my kids are grown, and the library is something that's so passionate to me, and I've lived in this town for a long time, I'm very committed to the town, and I'm very committed to serving my time in the library and doing the best that I can in that role.
So I think I am the newest transplant to Brentwood, up here at least. You guys are all amazing. But I have lived in southern New Hampshire my whole life, so I'm not planning on going anywhere. I have kids at Swayze Cooperative Middle School and the high school. So I'm planning on being an SAU 16 in Brentwood for, let's see, I have a 4th grader, so 8 more years. So 3-year term is easy. I've also, I've been an alternate on the board since July, I want to say 2024. I was a math teacher, I'm hoping I'm not getting my math wrong. And I fulfilled that term for a year, reapplied. I'm in the middle of my 2nd term, so I have no plans on going anywhere. And my kids are old enough that we're past to be huge, maybe we're still in the sports and everything else phase, but my husband's got it. He's got them all today.
Right, there you go. So I actually served as a supervisor of the checklist for the past 6 years. My term is up, and that's actually why I've decided to run for a different position. So I completed my entire term. Hopefully everyone thinks I served that honorably. I felt like I did a good job. So I mean, that was a 6-year term. So I committed to that as a 6-year term. I actually got into that position as a write-in candidate because I believe in community service. I believe in supporting my community. I was looking at the ballot as a preview online and said, there's nobody running. So I researched the position, I learned about it, I understood who it was, and I showed up. And I kept showing up. So I think I would do the same for this role.
I guess I'm last. I have never run for a position. Daphne suckered me into working elections for the last, 6, 7 years. I guess that counts. I always showed up, except for the time I would go home and take a nap. But that's just for your sanity and mine. I am way too much of an introvert to be standing up here if I wasn't going to do the full 3 years with the best of my ability, because I do not like speaking in front of people. I am still terrified and shaking. My knees have not stopped. But I think the school is so important that I will be here again, God willing. There's no issues. I don't get super sick. I'm not on death's door. I will be there. Again, I don't like having a microphone in my hand, so I would not be running if I didn't think it was important, and I wouldn't be running just for fun because I don't want to be standing up here right now.
I know it's getting late and people want to go home. Should know where Dudley Road again. This is a really important question though, and it goes to parents and schools, and I was distressed to read the article in the Brentwood newsletter where a parent had information held back to them that would have helped them with their child. And the question I have for the people running for the school board is, list the top 2 things that you don't think parents need to know about what their children do in school, please.
I know, it's not for me, but. No.
I've spoken about this before, I think, several years ago, at the library, when I think it was another candidate's night. I understand the distress, but I want to share a different perspective. I was a student in high school who approached my teachers, who approached my guidance counselors, because I was not in a safe living environment. Those people at the school helped me find a place to live. I was considered technically homeless when I applied to college, put myself through college, got my master's in accounting, and here I am today. But I want to just share a different perspective that teachers, caregivers at the school, school guidance counselors, professionals, they make available safe resources for kids who do not feel safe at home. And while I remember reading this or reading over it, I don't remember the specifics of what was not shared. I was a beneficiary of information that was not shared with my parents. I moved out as soon as I turned 18 with a note that I left on my kitchen counter. I visited the police station. I said, I'm not missing, I need to leave. And that benefited me because then I was able to put myself through school. And so while, please answer the question. As a parent myself, I understand the distress, but as somebody who's lived a different situation, I also want everybody to know that the school can be a very safe place for children who did not grow up, or who may not be growing up in safe situations, or do not feel safe in the home that they live in. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabby. Thank you. Thank you for the question. And I'd like to thank you for sharing that story. That's huge. Thank you. And you turned out absolutely wonderful. I just wanted to let you all know that what we're talking about tonight is a seat for an elementary school. So at Swayze, these are children that are preschool through 5th grade. So I do feel, you were talking high school, but we were talking about younger children. I want you all to know that any staff members are mandated reporters. They must mandate to the state if they suspect that anything is going on in the home that would be harmful or dangerous for a child. That being said, I feel incredibly strongly, and I didn't even want to get into this tonight, to be honest with you, because it's a nonpartisan seat. I don't think any type of politics or activism or sex or any of that should be in the schools whatsoever. These are little kids. I just want them to go and to play and to have fun. That particular parent that was written in the newsletter, I had no idea they were going to write to the newsletter. They actually reached out to me a couple months ago as a state representative. Is there anything that you could do to help me, because this went on for years? And you know what, there was not a darn thing I could do to help that parent, because there's a policy called JBAB, and that policy was put in place in either 2016 or 2017 throughout SAU 16. I want you to know I served on both boards simultaneously at the time, and I was the only no vote on both boards that said don't bring this into play. What's happening at the elementary school is they are saying to children, I remember our son saying, all the boys line up. And the teacher corrected him. He was 10 at the time, and the teacher said, no. You mean all those that identify as a boy. And I want you to know, things are different. We have 4 children, and I serve on the education committee, and I serve with educators that they were teachers for years and years and years, and things are different now. They say this isn't happening in the school. They're right, it probably wasn't happening back when they were teaching. Things are different now. So no, I don't care who's gay or straight or whatever, purple, green, black, I could care less. But these are little kids, they're at school to play, to have fun, and to learn. Let's keep this grown-up crap out of the schools. Thank you.
Mr. Miller, right, you asked the question. Thank you for the question. You asked 2 things I don't need to hear about, right? I will start off by saying I was distressed when I read that as well. Because I just know as a parent how much I would want to know if my child was in pain and for some reason I wasn't able to see it at home. And that would scare the living heck out of me if my child was more comfortable talking to someone else than they would to me. And I just would hope that someone from the school would call me, and the fact that if it's legal for them to not call me, I'm sorry, and I'm sorry that, and I know people go through different things, but I have a problem with that. And I'll leave that. What I don't need to hear about is if my son had an argument with his friend today, and it was a one-off type of a thing. But other things, I don't know if there's something more serious that you would look to hear from me. But for the most part, I don't really need to hear anything unless there's a big problem.
I'm sorry, I don't really know how best to answer this question, but to just say that in all situations, I think we learn to, I would look to do what is best and learn information about the situation. I don't know the situation that transpired behind this. I don't, to the point that's been made up here, there's extenuating circumstances, I don't know, right? So I can't claim that that policy is right or wrong. I'm not educated enough on it yet. And what I want to do is educate myself, understand what the policy was, what the situation was, what transpired, and hopefully, reach a solution that was best for all involved.
I'm gonna stay seated because this makes me a little nervous because I was like, someone's gonna bring this up. And I didn't read the article, unfortunately. But I'm going to echo what Gabby said, and this is why I'm going to sit down. I am much older than some of my siblings. My youngest sister is 12 years younger than me. My mom passed away when I was 12, 13 actually, so my sister was a little under 1. When my sister was in elementary school, so we are talking about that pre-K through 4th grade, 5th grade, she was not safe. My brother was not safe. So it is happening in elementary schools. And my dad wasn't in a good place. My stepmom was not a good person. The only people that helped my siblings and let me know that something was going on was the educators. So it is happening in elementary school. I've worked for DCYF and I can guarantee you it's happening in elementary schools. There are kids who are not safe and they will talk to teachers because that is a safe person that they see every day, all day, every day. And I'm so thankful for educators, and that's why I became an educator, because I realized I wanted to be there if someone needed my help. I'm not gonna speak to the situation because I do not know it well enough. It is also not a political position, so whether I am fully supportive of trans rights or gay rights, or it shouldn't matter for the school board. That has nothing to do with the school board. I'm a human, I believe in human rights, last time I checked. And to say it doesn't happen in elementary school, it very much does. I've seen it, and I did take custody of some of my siblings throughout their life. And thanks to those teachers, they also helped us by bringing us food, bringing us toilet paper, without a lot of people knowing. And that was for our safety. So in this specific situation, I don't know if the child did feel unsafe at home or was worried. I don't know the background. We don't know everyone's background. I don't know your background. You don't know mine. This is a very small snapshot of how my life went, so you don't know my full background either. So I don't want to speak to that. I don't feel that I am qualified to speak to that. I don't think anyone's really qualified to speak to that at this moment, unless the parent is here and wants to talk to me privately. I don't think it's a public thing to be talked about. That's a private at-home matter.
I just wanted to make one quick clarification. In New Hampshire, everybody over the age of 18 is a mandated reporter.
Yes.
So if anybody, the librarian, the director of rec, anybody who is near a child of any under 18 is expected to make a report to DCYF.
I just make one quick comment.
So again, Chip Miller. When I saw the article, I thought about how to address it at this forum. And, you know, you think how you would answer a question if it was asked of you. And my answer would have been, if the child was at risk, I would want that reported. Not to the parent, but to the appropriate authorities. And after that, I wouldn't want any interference between the parents, the kids, and the teachers. And that's specifically why I asked for two, because I know one's required. But thank you.
My question is for the people running for school board. My question is, do you support girls in safe places? I.e. what's been going on in Concord, boys in boys' rooms, girls in girls' rooms, locker rooms, whatever. I have a daughter in high school, and I've got another daughter go through school, the whole school system here. And I'd like to get your views on girls in safe spaces.
I'll answer first. I'm a coach, so this is like my wheelhouse. I'm a woman, FYI, in case anyone cares. Girls in safe spaces. That's how you define a girl, and I'm not gonna get into it, that's political. I am a coach. I keep girls safe. We have locker rooms. I keep them safe. Boys should feel safe too. I don't know why it's just girls feeling safe. Boys should also feel safe. That's just generally how I feel. We should all feel safe. There are gender neutral bathrooms in my high school. There are all gender bathrooms in my high school. I think it's great. You wanna use it? Great. Not my problem. Are you safe? Is everybody else safe in the room? That's all that matters. I don't think we should be asking kids, what are you packing under there? Because that's not my business. Are they safe? Is everyone else safe? As a coach, I'm keeping people safe. If they need to use an all-gender restroom instead of the women's room, great. I'm all for keeping girls safe, but we also have to keep boys safe. So let's remember boys as well. And I mean, I guess you're gonna ask me about trans. Yes, I believe in trans rights. If there is a male player that has transitioned to female and they wanna play on my team, you bet your bottom dollar I'm gonna let them play on my team. If they're gonna be better and another team wants to drop out, my team will decide with that teammate if we want to drop out ourselves or if we want to move on. That's how I feel about the world. We're all entitled to our opinion on that. That doesn't really have anything to do with elementary school. I mean, little girls are going to use the little girls' room and little boys are going to use the little boys' room, and if they're unidentified, they can use the nurse's bathroom, which is an option. So I don't know why it really has anything to do with Swayze. There are plenty of options for bathrooms and keeping kids safe, and if they don't feel safe being a boy, that's also not keeping them safe. Or not feeling safe being a girl, it's also not keeping them safe. So gender is a big issue, and again, this isn't supposed to be a political position, but I guess I'm getting political. Again, it just comes down to their safety, and like you're saying, you want girls to be safe, they'll be safe. But I want everyone to feel safe, and if that takes your vote away from me, I can't change my beliefs, unfortunately. That's just who I am.
So, yeah, I agree. Safety is the priority here, so we'll focus on safety. That's the job of the school board.
I do believe in safe spaces for girls. It was your question, 100%. And I mean, as a coach, my daughter's in 4th grade. I've coached her from kindergarten up. Right now, my son's in 1st grade. I've coached him from pre-K up. And I mean, I respect everyone's opinion on this, but I'm here to tell you there's a difference between boys and girls. Okay, and how rough they are, how strong they are, how tall they are, and how physical they play the game. When I'm coaching different age groups, because I've had 20 some odd kids in Swayze Gym, and I'm responsible for the safety of them all. Kindergartners up to 5th graders, some boys, some girls. And I can't just say, go out, let's make teams and go play. Because the 5th grade boy is going to destroy the kindergartners, whether it's a boy or a girl. And so I'll take it just from the sports perspective. I coach 3rd and 4th grade girls team. I would not feel comfortable putting them out on the court against a team that has a male figure playing with a male body, strength, and size. And anybody who wants to disagree with me on that, I invite you to watch the male who transitioned volleyball player who spiked the ball into the female's head and she's now paralyzed. And I think you need to look at reality when it comes to strength between the two genders. Not that one is better than the others. Quite honestly, I'm the first person to raise my hand and say, we need a female president.
Thank you for the question. So I want to get back to, we are talking about, again, preschool through grade 5. I definitely do feel that the spaces should be separated. I 100% think they should be separated. I just want to get back to, I don't care if someone's gay, straight, or trans, and I have no desire to out somebody, okay? So that, there's no intent there whatsoever. But about 4 years ago, when I served the first time, I saw a school board meeting, and it was, I believe it was in Hampton. And these 2 brave little girls got up and they testified because the school was about to go gender neutral with all of the bathrooms and locker rooms. And these brave little girls got up there and they spoke and they said they were scared. And what was happening was little girls were getting urinary tract infections because they were afraid to go to the bathroom throughout the school day. Little girls who got their period were having accidents to their clothing, which probably as a man you don't realize, but as a female it's pretty devastating and they'll probably be picked on for the rest of their life. But that being said, so these young ladies, if it was that time of the month, they would be missing school because they were afraid to use the restroom. That being said, I also want to point out that I worry for the sake of the young men too. Because you put a boy in that space, he could also be falsely accused. It's just not good all around. They're little boys, they're little girls, it's science. Let's just leave it the way it is. There's boys and girls bathrooms and there's always a gender neutral.
Can I just clarify something? Sorry. So again, we're talking about preschool through 5th grade, right? So I actually think my daughter's in the same class as your son. So I have a 6-year-old, soon to be 7-year-old, and there are bathrooms literally in every classroom at this age, right? Gender neutral bathrooms, 1 stall, right? Like, so this isn't an issue, I think, for the elementary school, which is what this school board will be serving on. Additionally, they're not changing for gym, right? There's no locker rooms in there. Again, there's just bathrooms. And there's bathrooms in the classroom, individual bathrooms. So this is really a non-issue for the school in which we're talking about.
But there's only 1 kid in the bathroom at a time.
Exactly.
Right.
So there's
We're
no
talking
issue.
more about when there'd be multiple kids.
Yeah, but it doesn't
potentially in the
happen at
same
Swayze,
bathroom.
is what we're saying.
I do just want to say as a point of clarity though, I hear what you're saying and you're correct in the younger grades, but I believe, you would know you though, in 4th and 5th grade, they do not have restrooms in the bathroom. They do use the public restrooms for the little boys and little girls with multiple stalls.
There's
still
sons in
lots
4th
of
grade,
gender-
he has a bathroom in his classroom.
And there's still lots of gender neutral bathrooms around the school, and they don't change for gym, and there's no locker rooms, so like this is a non-issue for an elementary school.
Well, that was fun. Can we get back to taxes? Jeff Gardner, Crawley Falls Road. I have 2 questions, or 1 question, 2 parts. Choose your poison. For the select board candidates.
Thank
you. We've been hearing a lot about taxes, finances. I read a lot, spend a lot of time online. A lot of people know me, some don't. it's cool. There's been a lot of confusion and misrepresentation on whether or not the town employees are feeling supported. Okay. My question is, or statement I should say, it's often more expensive to recruit and train new employees than to keep a seasoned one. I mean, that's just fact, right? What would your strategy be for supporting current town employees through non-monetary means to ensure Brentwood remains a competitive employer, to not become a training ground elsewhere, without relying solely on tax-funded raises? My second part B would be, how do you plan, or how could you encourage department heads to find internal efficiencies, such as software automation, workflow changes, or organizational restructure, again, non-monetary, without burdening taxpayers? You're welcome.
So, I'm gonna pass the mic around, but before I do, if you still have a question, can you just raise and hold up your hand so that I know, because we're after 8 o'clock, I don't mind staying and hanging out, but I just wanna get an idea of how many more people have questions. So I'm gonna start with Dave.
I mean, that's a great question, and I'm open to input on that, but, you know, I think trying to build, you know, the kind of team that I was talking about earlier with professional, talented people, and make, you know, this place, you know, one where people want to work. I think that's really important. I also think, you know, having, and again, you know, it's hard to talk about it without any financial consequence at all, because, you know, I want to make sure that, you know, our firefighters and our police force have what they need when they're out in the field. So if that means updating radios, making sure that, you know, we have proper PFAS equipment for our firefighters, those are all important things as well. Similarly, you know, having a proper facility. I know when I was speaking with Chet Murch about that, he said, look, for purposes of retention, we are ultimately going to need a proper facility. And then I think it's, you know, just a matter of communication. You know, I try to speak to people, and I know that department heads are doing that as well to maintain good personnel. Is it going to require sometimes, you know, a merit-based increase in order to retain someone, which I understand, you know, that will ultimately have an effect on, you know, the budget and taxes? Sure. I mean, I'm in favor of merit-based increase, not COLA increases. But if someone is deserved, and, you know, to keep that person on your force, rather than to spend a lot more money to retrain someone, I am certainly open to that. I can tell you, you know, without getting into personnel, because that's, you know, something that I can't get into, but I can tell you conceptually, if, you know, someone, you know, was brought to me and said, look, in order to retain this person, and this is a quality person who we want for the long term, then certainly, you know, I'm going to consider that. Because I know, you know, it's important for our town. So, you know, it's a balancing act. You know, there's no doubt about it. I mean, if you have other, you know, I mean, I guess we can have like a, you know, I think Jim Michaud mentioned some sort of bowling party for the town staff at some point after town meeting, but I know the reality is that we have to look at things, you know, like I've been talking about. I think keeping the environment one that is healthy is important to keep people working here.
I'm big on creating teams. I think it's important, and they start young when you do teams, and people learn how to play as a team. Some people are good team players, some people aren't. I think you need to create that team atmosphere. Chief Murch has been awesome, like seeing him sled. Of course, I wish he took off the taser and the gun before he went sledding, but that was my own personal thing. Don't damage that electrical piece of equipment. I think if everyone feels like they're coming to work and they're happy to come to work, they're gonna wanna be here. With that said, if someone's unhappy and they wanna leave, and they find something better, I'm not gonna say, no, please don't leave. I understand retention and training is expensive and everything else, but I also wanna make sure we have somebody that wants to be here. I don't want people that are disgruntled and are unhappy. I don't want an atmosphere where people are disgruntled and are unhappy. I want them to feel free that they can come talk to somebody at the board. I love the fact that we, on the board, create liaisons to each department. I'm liaison to the rec department, Jim's liaison to the fire, the police, and the highway. I try to make myself available to everyone that's at the town hall or anything, even the police department. I was, over there today knocking off ice blocks, and then I was really impressed since our chief got tased yesterday because he was playing victim and he wanted to get tased. Okay. That's crazy, but whatever. So he did that, and it's on Facebook, so everyone can see him get tased. It's very interesting to watch him go down. But he was out there today shoveling snow. He's being a team player. I like that. I can tell you after one of the meetings, found out that, I think Andy brought it up, that we shouldn't have been having the meeting because the exits had been shoveled. I went out and said, I'll do that before we leave. So I went out and shoveled those things. And I lost my coffee mug because there were some other selectmen that decided he wanted to play a joke on me. Now I have a new coffee cup that says Opry of me. So I think as long as they're playing as teams and everyone's happy and we can create, going out and playing bowling or figuring out something that they can do as team building exercises. And I know there was I believe the budget committee did an assessment previously on where our salary ranges fall, and making sure that we're paying what we're supposed to be paying. But I also, if Sandown's paying for a $25,000 bonus for someone to come down there and somebody says, I'm gonna go jump over there because I can get $25,000, if I can't compete with that, I can't compete with that. And I've worked for companies before where I've left and I had to make a decision. What's right for me and my family? Where do I see myself 5 to 10 years from now? Usually most jobs that I go into is I want to project and see where I see myself 5 to 10 years from now. I like to be proactive. I hate people that are reactive. I got back in because I saw that there was a lot of reactive policies going on. I hate reacting. You're always behind the 8 ball on that. So I want to be proactive. And hopefully we can create that, and we can create an atmosphere where everyone feels as a team. I know Daphne would like to kill me because there's 3 tables in one room that I would like to annihilate one of them, and she told me she would take me out personally if I did that. So I might have to have Ernie take away her heated vest, but I'm
I don't need to speak, you
You want to speak? I did well.
You're just gonna me too?
Took over 3 minutes, Bob, that's good.
You're just gonna say the same?
I'll be very quick. I just had a very, very quick thing that I think needs to be said, and then I'll move on because I think we've largely moved on. But transgender people face discrimination and harassment and bullying every single day. I can tell you from personal experience from family members and friends who have even considered taking their lives because of how cruel the world can be sometimes. So if we're going to be talking about safety for children or safety for everybody, and we're not going to talk about the safety of transgender people, then we're not really talking about safety at all.
I wasn't talking about transgender boys or anything else. I was talking about the safety of my children, my girls, that I feel as though my tax dollars pay to have them taken care of in a school the way I was raised, with morals and values. We don't judge. I said nothing about any of that. I said about the safety of girls and other peoples that care about their girls.
My name's Dean O'Connell. I'm in the new 55 development. We got an aging society. Property taxes are soaring. What are you gonna do to level them out? Because last year, if I read correctly, Brentwood property taxes skyrocketed 9.6%. Cost of living was 3%. What are you gonna do to try to bring it down to our level a little bit more? Keep it from going up to a 1.
This is directed at Board of Selectmen, I presume.
Whoever can answer it.
I guess I'm out again, huh? I think that's really managing, that's really proper management, and I think, you know, that goes into the wants versus the needs. What do we need versus what we want? I can double or add, and you know, and you know, some departments will see a 25% increase, I think, last year in one department, for example. And then I think this year we went through and we said, everyone's upset with the tax increase. I think Jim Michaud, one is a write-in because that was one of his things, is we gotta start getting in control of the tax base. And we have to start listening to the taxpayers. I, for one, yeah, I was a little upset with my taxes. I got back in when there was a seat vacated. I said, yeah, I'm gonna come back out of my retirement, and yeah, I'm a graying community too, as my hair keeps telling me every day I look in the mirror. So I think it's really managing the expectations and the growth to be consistent with what's going on in the community, realizing we're still a rural environment. As we start building more things like River Run and Three Ponds, yes, you're getting more taxes and impacts, but how do we manage the growth or expectations? I want to make sure that we're still in line with the size of our community. And I think that's really looking at the size of the departments and the growth and what's actually palatable for the taxpayers. And I think that's one of the things that the budget committee does, is to see if financially, can this burden that we're gonna put on the taxpayers, can they afford that burden? And especially to start getting into some of the retirement communities and the older people that are living in town, a lot of them are living on fixed incomes, or they have a 401k where they're paying themselves. They don't have, you know, they have to pay for their medical and their, you know, Humana and everything else that goes on top of the Medicare plans. And those are expensive, and let's face it, insurance is going up. So it's a balancing act, and I'm pretty firm, and I'm a pretty good watchdog as far as watching the dollar. So I think it's just managing everything and the expectations and balancing the wants versus the needs, and really kind of taking out that. I think we did a really good job this year of coming in with a balanced budget and setting those expectations of what we were looking for. And definitely we had some budgets that came through where people were wanting more, and we had to reel them back in to reality of, listen, everyone's pretty upset about their taxes going up so much. And like I said, 9.6, and some of us had a pretty sizable tax increase. Mine, like I said, was around $2,000. So that's an impact every month that I gotta pay for. And I'm never gonna get that back. That's out the window. So hopefully we can make it more palatable and build up those rainy day funds so we can try to offset the tax burden and impact for some of the things that we might need, like a police station and stuff like that.
They voted a tax cap last year, so that, but as cemetery trustee chair, I will say the trustees voted this year. We did not raise the price up a lot at the cemetery. We kept it at $400 because the cemetery is not here to serve you. And we're not about making, a lot of other towns charge a lot more. But we feel strongly that we are not, the town, we're not here to help the town make money on selling lots, so we've kept it the same price. Thank you.
I just wanted to speak as being part of the budget committee, working closely with Paul, and I know our budget committee working closely with the select board. This work is in process. We've heard very clearly from the taxpayers proof with a 4% tax cap, as well as with our level funded budget. I think the departments have heard clearly with them putting forward warrants that don't fit inside the 4% tax cap. And so to make this short and sweet, which I also have the gift of gab, my namesake, I hope that people see this year that that work is in process, not only for those living on a fixed income, but also for those who are trying to move to the town, which, you know, helps our property values, but I could not afford the house that I live in at this point right now. So the work is in process, and we're doing what we can collaboratively to try to keep it that way. Thank you for the question.
I mean, I would just say again, I know, yeah. No, I think the voice of the people was heard, and we spent a long time in budget season going through every line of every budget, and that's why, you know, once again, I'm proud to report that at town meeting, it's going to be a level budget.
I will say that I think it's relevant for the school board candidates to talk to this for a second, because the biggest part of our tax bill is for the school.
Thank you.
Okay, so and I'm just here to tell you, my taxes, or my family's taxes, went up, I think, 3,000 and change this year, something like that. It's like almost too high to count. So we take that one jump in 1 year, and now we're all talking about, oh, we're only gonna go up 4%, but like, is anybody happy with that? No, we wanna see it go down. Like, but I'm just here to tell you, there is no chance that is happening in any part of our government, local, country, whatever, unless we get more efficient. Efficiency is the word. And so if I am going on to the school board, I'm coming in from a businessman's perspective. I'm not saying I'm looking to cut anything. I'm just saying, I'm looking to see, are there any ways we could actually become more efficient so that the kids get the same level of teaching, or maybe even better, but spend less money? Is it possible to do that with anything, or is it just, let's throw more money at everything? I don't know.
So.
So,
I just wanted to say, isn't the, like, I remember this from years past, isn't the larger part of the budget the SAU 16 and not SWAYS? Right, okay. I was just making clear, so like, right, exactly, like it's a pretty significant gap. So that's not the school board that we would be on.
That's right, it's
Okay.
everything together is what I'm talking
Yeah, okay,
about.
well, but just like the
Efficiency.
Swayze school board where we would have the budgetary control
Right,
of.
not as much as
except you get a seat on the joint board.
Right, exactly.
Absolutely.
Okay, just for clarity.
Well, you get the experience in one, and then you move up to the
Sure.
other.
So it's a little past 8:20. I had said we were gonna wrap up at 8. First of all, that was an hour and 40 minutes of questions and answers. So like, thank you to every single person who asked a question. Thank you for the Thank you very much for coming out tonight. Thank you for all the candidates for putting your name forward. Thanks to everyone who helped me set up, and to Andy for recording for us. Have a great evening.
Thanks, Andy.